Morning, everyone. My name is Matt Pfeiffer, the host of Conversations on Retail, and we are here today with Destaney Wishon of BetterAMS. Destaney, how are you?
Doing amazing. Very happy to be here.
Good. Thank you so much for making the time. I've really looked forward to this. Your story is unique, and the story that I know, because you are a Northwest Arkansas founded and based company that is focused on helping companies make the most out of their Amazon business, correct?
Correct. So it's a little bit of a sin to do anything Amazon related in this area.
It used to be, right? But more and more, at least in my experience, where it used to be that the supplier teams would come to Northwest Arkansas and be fully dedicated to the Walmart business. More and more of these teams are recognizing that if we've got our best talent in town looking after the most important account, and then it becomes unclear which account really is the most important. Is it the one that's the biggest, or is it the one that's growing the fastest? Then you begin to redeploy that same talent against multiple accounts. Are you seeing that as well?
100%. Then throw a pandemic into the mix, and
Yeah.
all of e-commerce just saw this, crazy growth opportunity. And I think this year has been really crazy seeing how everything's trending and kind of trying to take the bet in the right direction. But the relationship between Walmart, Amazon, everything.com and retail is 100% symbiotic. It's not one or the other.
Right. So give us kind of the elevator pitch on BetterAMS, and then I want to go kind of do a little bit of a background, get to know you, and then I want to talk about your entrepreneurial journey and dig more deeply into your business. But give us kind of the elevator pitch on what is BetterAMS.
Yeah, of course. So BetterAMS is kind of strictly focusing on scaling primarily on platform Amazon ads. So anyone who's purchased anything on Amazon has seen sponsored ads. We run those. So we typically run them for some of the largest sellers on the platform, a lot of the largest vendors as well. And we dabble in Walmart also, but Walmart platform is a little bit different. It's a little bit behind in terms of kind of their sponsored ad platform, but that's been our core focus over the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's great. So you grew up in Northwest Arkansas, standout athlete, a basketball player, I know, but tell us more about, kind of your upbringing, and not so much, what's your favorite color and that sort of thing, but what were some of the experiences that you had growing up, some of the relationships you developed in terms of mentors or people that really inspired you, that would kind of lead you to where you are as an entrepreneur, as someone that is in this e-commerce space, really pioneering in the business that you're running.
There have been too many to count, which I'm incredibly thankful for. But I think the biggest ones, obviously, my parents growing up really, really hit home, having an incredible work ethic. My mom will tell you her biggest fear was having lazy kids. So, during the summers when people are inside watching TV on Netflix, like we never had that opportunity. My parents are like, get outside, do some work, do something. So from a very early age, I had like this really crazy work ethic instilled in me. And I think that's primarily what positioned me for the success I've seen now, is just showing up day in and day out, regardless of circumstances, and basically working my ass off. So
Hmm.
that was kind of one of the biggest things. And then another big one was I worked at Pinnacle Country Club in the area, and that was
Mhm.
an absolute amazing experience, being able to surround yourself with such well-spoken people who have like seen any form of success in life. And I
Hmm.
built a lot of strong relationships there. And I was kind of doing two jobs at the time. I was doing the e-commerce thing on the side while also working there. So I was able to bounce ideas off some of the people I knew, and I always got some incredible feedback from that. So it's been countless, but one of the biggest tips that I've ever been told was it doesn't matter who you know, it matters who knows you. And I
Hmm.
think that stood out of, being willing, being approachable, having the opportunity to go ask people questions. That was really big in kind of my development.
Yeah. So I knew when I was 10 years old that I wanted to run my own business, and I had no idea what it would be. I just looked at my father's life, much the way I'm sure he looked at his father's life. I was like, I don't think I want that. And nothing against my father. It was just it just didn't look like much fun what he was doing. And I thought, I think I can build something and work every bit as hard, So my question to you is, at what point did you know that you weren't really meant to work for someone else, that you needed to build something and kind of go your own way? At what point did that hit you?
Well, if you talk to my parents, they'll say, I was the most stubborn, bossy 2-year-old alive. So I think they knew much, much earlier than I ever did, because it was a confidence thing for me. I don't think I could have woken up and been like, I'm going to be the CEO of a company. Thankfully, my role progression was a little bit more natural. I was able to do baby steps, kind of get comfortable with the industry, start speaking, start building a team. That progression was very natural, and it's kind of led me to where I am today, which was a little bit better than probably me just waking up saying, I'm going to do this. This is what's happening, because it's scary. It's a really big cliff to jump off if you're going to be an entrepreneur.
Right. So where did that big idea hit you? Kind of connect the dots between Pinnacle Country Club and BetterAMS. What's that timeline look like in terms of going from working there to being co-founder and CEO?
Yeah, so I got an internship at a local agency that was scaling incredibly quickly at the time. So it allowed me to kind of be thrown into the fire of the Amazon industry and also kind of the retail side of the industry. I was working with some very large vendors at the time, and I was, 20, 21 years old, I think. So it was an amazing opportunity to learn a lot in a short span of time. And then around that time, I watched a presentation from a 19-year-old in China who was presenting on Amazon advertising. And I was like, holy crap, like I really resonate with everything this kid's saying. I reached out to him, ended up, getting a job with his company. And then I really started kind of gaining traction in this space. I was posting a lot of content. I was really coming from a place of like transparency, like just trying to help anyone and everyone I came in contact with. And that did really well. And things just kind of took off. And then we rolled progression wise, realized like there's a really large opportunity to scale. Being based out of Bentonville, Arkansas has been an absolute blessing, because I am surrounded by so many incredible vendors and things like that I've had the opportunity to work with. So that's basically pushed us to where we are now.
Yeah. So and again, I don't want to make this in any way about me, but I think I want to be able to draw some comparisons maybe between my own experience and yours. When I went from, almost 13 years at Walmart to starting my own business, I needed kind of this transitionary. I went from being full-time, Walmart marketing to full-time entrepreneur, but there was a space kind of in between where I was doing a little bit of both. And then that kind of one big customer opportunity came along. And then that's where I made the full transition. What did your transition look like when you started the company? Did you have one big customer? Was it a series of smaller jobs that you took on that kind of eased your way into it? What did that look like?
It was definitely a series of smaller jobs, and it was more of a side hustle. It was, working from home, managing clients on my own. Things were going really well. And then we got to a point where we needed to hire someone. So we hired someone. And I think after we hired that first employee, that's really things just escalated and kind of went crazy in the best way. And, looking back, if you would have told me 4 years ago to be managing a team of 20 and running a 7-figure company for some of the largest vendors on Amazon, I would have never believed it. And I would have never been able to hop into that role. But there's a saying in entrepreneurship, it's like, what got you here won't get you there. That was very much it. It very much was a side hustle, me managing accounts, and that turned into me having to figuring out how to lead and how to handle all these different aspects of the business. And now we're here. So
yeah. Talk a little bit about your co-founder, and to the extent that, you complement one another in running the day-to-day of the business.
So Taylor is my antithesis in almost every single entrepreneurial way, which is an absolute blessing in disguise, because we're very similar in terms of kind of our values and what we want growing the company. But if you guys have ever taken the rocket fuel test, it's a really fantastic test that basically tells you whether or not you're a visionary or an integrator. And then knowing how to align those skill sets with your role in the company. And I am 85% visionary. I have a lot of big ideas, very much an extrovert, very well articulated. Taylor is like 83% integrator. So the exact opposite of me. He's very much operationally oriented. He likes building systems, having a lot of efficiencies. So I don't know how we got so lucky as to be paired in this, this journey that we're on, but it's worked out amazingly well. And then, they always say having a partner in a business is like a marriage, and that's very much so. On the fundamental level, we're very much aligned. We want to provide the best service for every single person. We want to be extremely respectful and honest, and he has a lot of those values as well. So that's been really cool.
Yeah, that's great. So your team of 20, you're not centrally based. You've got folks all over, right?
Yes, we are a full virtual team. We have, clients in the EU, we have clients everywhere. So we've kind of tried to build our team aligned with that. But I mean, we have East Coast, West Coast, we have some employees in Dublin and Guatemala. So it's been a really cool experience.
Oh, and at least $100,000 a month. Is that right?
Yes.
Did I break up there?
A little bit.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. Let me repeat the question again. On one of the videos of you I watched the other day, it said that you want to work with companies that are doing at least $100,000 a month in sales. But beyond that, do you have a sweet spot in terms of category? Are there certain categories of merchandise where your approach tends to work better?
Not necessarily. Unlike what you typically see in a retail store where you have people who specialize in the candy category and the baby category, we tend not to do that because your Amazon advertising can compete. So we typically only work with the top 1 or 2 brands in the majority of the categories. So that's one of the things that we audit on. E-commerce is a very hot topic right now. So I think the agencies who know how to say no and really focus on only the brands they can provide value on are kind of doing a little bit better. So that's what we really look for, is people who are an amazing partnership fit, great relationship, very honest, have realistic expectations on what's, able to be accomplished on e-commerce. And then that minimum is typically what we look for, because we truly only work with brands who are looking to scale and have the budgets to really make sense on Amazon. Yeah.
And how has your business changed the most profoundly? You've been doing this almost 5 years, right? How has the business changed the most in that period of time? Obviously, COVID has been a great accelerator, and everyone's going to say, well, there's just a lot more selling online. But beyond that, in what ways has the business changed?
5 years ago, it was primarily a seller's game. Sellers understood the value. They could launch brands really quickly, and they could compete with some of the largest vendors on the platform. And now we've seen, with COVID, when a bunch of retail kind of got slowed down, all these vendors are like, oh, I need to move my budgets to Amazon. Everyone's shopping.com. It makes more sense. It's no longer like the secondary or the kind of the backup platform. So it's definitely becoming much more competitive, slightly more pay to play. 2 weeks ago, there was over like $1.5 billion moved into the space through like different aggregators and different softwares. So I think like Silicon Valley is finally starting to pick up on the value of just Amazon in itself. So I don't think we're anywhere near the peak of what is going to be possible with e-commerce, but it's definitely starting to get more competitive, which is fun when you've been doing it for as long as I have.
Sure. Well, and 4 or 5 years ago, you couldn't, have a conversation with very many people that didn't have a garage full of stuff that they were trying to hawk on Amazon and eBay. And are you seeing more and more of those types of sellers being shaken out because it is more of a I don't know about complexity, but maybe the level of competition has changed and it requires more sophistication, more commitment in terms of time and finances?
You are spot on. One, Amazon has really started to kind of crack down on that. At the end of the day, Amazon wanted to build a platform that was amazing for the customers. They needed to get started by providing a marketplace for anyone and everyone to sell on. But now that they have those numbers and that volume, they've realized that the brands are what the customers are coming there for. So they've definitely started to clean up their platform to prevent a lot of that. And then just logistically, supply chain costs are higher, advertising costs are higher, and that makes things pretty hard. It's starting to squeeze out a lot of the smaller players who don't have the cash flow to continuously reinvest in inventory.
Yeah. Well, I think you probably partially answered my next question. What are some of the mistakes that you're seeing companies making now? And I've heard you say on multiple videos that that, cash flow is really important, because sometimes you've got to be willing to sell products at a loss in order to, and I'm not a technical expert, so I know you'll correct me, but you've got to be willing to advertise and sell products at a loss, understanding that long term it's going to improve your ranking, right? So you've got to make sure you've got the cash to cover some of those short-term losses. Now, did I chop that up? Correct what's wrong?
No, that was exactly right. I think a lot of people don't understand how dynamic a platform like Amazon.com is. And what they kind of don't realize is if you spend more on ads and drive more conversions, then there's a potential that your organic rank is going to be better. And if you're organically ranking better, you're going to get more orders. So they call it the Amazon flywheel, and that just keeps spinning. You have more reviews, better conversion rate, more orders, better ranking, more ads, and it just keeps going. But that is one of the biggest mistakes that we've seen being made. And kind of the easiest ways I can explain it to any brand on Amazon: take your number one keyword, type it in. If you're not on page one, how do you expect customers to find you? If you're not on the top 3, how do you expect customers to find you? And I think that's the part that gets hard for people, is they don't realize the majority of customers don't go past page 1. So if you're not there, figure out how to get there. We do that through Amazon ads, because I can easily place any brand on page 1 with a little bit of money. But it's a lot of education is required to get into Amazon. I mean, it is so complex. They have not made it easy on anyone. And you have a lot of these brands who are used to doing business, with a buyer and a very specific strategy that everyone's been running for the last 50 years, and you're throwing something completely new at them. It can be very difficult to navigate.
So is the Amazon platform, and maybe this isn't the right way to ask the question, but would you say that things are stable right now, or are you anticipating more changes? Are there changes coming that you think sellers need to be preparing for?
I think there are quite a bit of changes coming on the advertising platform. It's insane what all we're seeing. We're seeing rollouts on a weekly basis for much more complex things we can do. But I think the next 6 months are going to be about navigating supply chain. And that's going to be fun. I mean, the container shortage is still running rampant throughout the community. So we're seeing ridiculous shipping costs. And the more expensive things get, the less margin you're going to have. But if you back off on advertising, you back off on, your price point and things like that, you're going to, decrease your volume, which is going to hurt in the long run. So I think from an Amazon end, we're going to see a lot of things going on with supply chain, because they're just trying to keep up, trying to keep, their 2-day shipping minimums, things like that. And it's making things pretty complicated.
So if Amazon's bias is shifting more and more toward big brands, because that's what they know, shoppers are looking for, how do the smaller brands stay relevant, survive, and thrive?
Think long term. No one expected a pandemic to hit. The numbers we saw last year are not realistic in terms of what we're starting to see now. The platform numbers have already started to drop slightly. And I think it's just keeping in mind that Amazon's not going anywhere. So yes, you may be spread thin now, but the goal is to make sure you're maintaining your ranking, maintaining those placements for years to come, and to always try to compete. If you cut back now, you may never be able to catch back up.
Make a case for some of these smaller brands working with a company like yours to handle their advertising, as opposed to trying to learn, keep up with changes, do everything themselves in-house to save a buck.
When it comes to Amazon alone, you have to have SEO optimized title, SEO optimized bullet points, fully optimized EBC for conversion rate, fully optimized imagery. You have to have Amazon advertising, sponsored products, sponsored brands, sponsored display, all the way to DSP. Then you have to worry about external traffic. You have to worry about your own Shopify site. You have to worry about the Google shopping, the Google ranking for that, not including everything supply chain logistics related. That is a lot for any one person to manage. And you can do it all and do an okay job at it and try to hire people to do an okay job at it. Or you can outsource those small pieces that make a really big difference. The pieces that are continuously changing need a very deep level of education to make sure it's being done right. And that's typically what we recommend. I'll be the first one to hop into an account and be like, you're doing an amazing job, keep doing it yourself. But at the end of the day, there are so many moving pieces with e-commerce that it's not easy to do it all incredibly well at once.
Yeah. Talk us through what a typical engagement looks like with a new client. What's the first conversation look like? And then I would expect every relationship to be a little bit different, but that typical, let's talk about, the business as it is. Let's develop a plan of action. What should someone expect when they engage your team?
The first thing we do before even discussing, what a relationship looks like is audit an account to make sure we are the right fit for them. As I mentioned earlier, there's so many ways to make money in this space right now. Everyone's scaling incredibly quickly. We like to find the partners that we know are going to be a good fit, that we can have a very strong relationship with. So we typically audit their account, go through all of their data, and then I hop on a call and I give them a walkthrough on what I think is in their best interest, whether that be utilizing a platform like Packview or Perpetua or any type of software. Or I'll hop in and be like, hey, this is something you should be outsourcing. And then that's the first engagement prior to even discussing a partnership. So that way I can make sure anyone we work with is a very strong fit and we're providing as much value as possible prior to ever working together.
Very good. Destaney, it's been a lot of fun getting to know you and a little bit more about your business. If someone wanted to reach out and at least pursue that initial conversation, that initial assessment, what's the best way to engage you and your team?
Yeah, of course. So check us out, betterams.com. If you're, interested in any form of content with Amazon advertising, I'm posting a ton on LinkedIn, and that's probably the number one way to stay in touch with everything happening in the industry. Or if you want to learn more, reach out to me and I could provide some resources on any Amazon topics, not just advertising.
Yeah. What an exciting time to be alive and as not just as a professional in retail e-commerce, but just as a consumer to see the world around us changing so quickly. I think we're all so lucky. Congratulations on your success. It's exciting to see someone in Northwest Arkansas just kind of take advantage of every opportunity, every relationship, every insight. To find space and to create something that's relevant, that the market responds to and that enjoys so much success. So congratulations to you and to Taylor and to your team. And I know I'm going to be excited to watch to see what happens with you all in the future. Destaney Wishon, co-founder and CEO of BetterAMS. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much, Matt. See ya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.